All right, let's dive in. Today, we're talking about one of the biggest, highest stakes races happening anywhere in the world right now, the race to build a truly self-driving car. And this is way more than just a tech challenge. We're talking about a massive battle of ideas and, yeah, a huge geopolitical fight between the US and China. And this quote, it just nails the whole thing. It really breaks down into two key battlegrounds. First, you've got these completely different bets on the tech, like how should a car even see the world? And second, you've got these two superpowers, the US and China, basically writing completely different rule books for how these things are allowed to drive on our streets. So yeah, this is truly a clash of titans. And it's not just one single race, right? It's like a whole bunch of them all happening at the same time. You've got company versus company, you've got country versus country, and you've even got Kara versus Laser. And they're all chasing that same ultimate prize, a car that can finally, truly drive itself. Okay, but before we can even start talking about who's winning, we've got to understand the rules of the game. So there's this group, the Society of Automotive Engineers, everyone just calls them SAE, and they've laid out the official levels of self-driving. It's like a ladder, and climbing that ladder is what this whole race is about. So let's break it down. Levels 1 and 2, that's basically driver assist. Think of stuff like your adaptive cruise control. Even if the car says it's hands-free, make no mistake, you are still the captain. You are legally on the hook. Now, the huge leap comes at level 3. This is where the car becomes the pilot, and for the first time, the system is responsible. But, and this is a big but, it can still tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, take over. Level 4 is the real deal for robotaxis. That's the chauffeur. No human needed as long as it's in its approved zone. And level 5, well, that's the sci-fi dream, right? A car that can go anywhere, anytime. We're not quite there yet. So let's be super clear on this, because it's the most important part. That massive shift in legal liability from you to the car company, that starts at level 3. But for the robotaxi companies we're focused on today, level 4 is the only thing that matters. That's the gold standard. That's the real target for a truly driverless ride-hailing service. So you might be asking, okay, if it's level 4, why can't it just go everywhere? And the answer is something called an ODD, or Operational Design Domain. The easiest way to think about it is like a sandbox. It's the pre-approved area and conditions, we're talking specific streets, certain weather, even times of day, where the car has proven it can drive safely all by itself. Okay, let's shift gears and talk about the tech itself. This is where we get to that core debate, and it's almost a philosophical question, really. How should a car actually see the world? Do you teach it to see like a human, or do you give it superhuman senses right from the get-go? So on one side, you've got Team Vision, and that's Tesla. Their big bet is that with enough cameras and incredibly smart AI, a car can learn to drive just like a person does. The huge advantage here? It keeps the hardware cost way down, which is great for their profit on each car they sell. Then you've got Team Sensor Fusion. This is Waymo, Baidu, the big robotaxi players. They use everything: cameras, radar, and this thing called LiDAR, which is basically lasers painting a super accurate 3D map of the world. Yeah, it's a lot more expensive, but their goal is different. They're not worried about the cost of one car. They're obsessed with maximum reliability to prove to regulators that their system is absolutely rock solid. So let's get into the weeds just a little bit on the hardware. On a new Tesla, you're going to find a bunch of cameras, and they've actually brought back a new, really high-res radar they call Phoenix. But here's the key thing. There's no LiDAR on the car you actually buy. Now, to be clear, they do use LiDAR for testing and gathering data, but it's not on the production vehicle. On the other hand, Waymo and Baidu, their whole system, their whole stack, is built around fusing data from all three, LiDAR, radar, and cameras, and then comparing that against super detailed HD maps. Okay, enough with the theory and the tech specs. Let's get to the scoreboard. Who's actually out there right now putting cars on the road? Who's winning? Let's look at the real-world deployment. And this chart really tells the story of the L4 robotaxi race. If you look at what's probably the single most important number, paid, completely driverless rides, the leaders in the US and China are basically tied. I mean, it's wild. Both Waymo, which is Google's company, and China's Baidu are doing about 250,000 paid driverless rides every single week. That's a huge number.
So where is all this happening? Well, in the US, Waymo is all over Phoenix, San Francisco, LA, Austin, and they're planning to expand to even more cities. Over in China, Baidu has a massive operation in Wuhan, Beijing, and Shenzhen. And get this, their competitors are moving fast. Pony.ai just snagged the first ever citywide driverless permit for Shenzhen. And another company, WeRide, is already running a 24/7 driverless service in a part of Guangzhou. The progress is just incredible.
Okay, so this brings up the elephant in the room, right? We're seeing all this crazy progress from Waymo and Baidu with their L4 robotaxis, so where's Tesla in all this? Well, the thing is, Tesla is playing a totally different game right now. They are the undisputed kings of the L2 supervised driving market. I mean, they have millions of cars out there with this tech. But, and this is the crucial part, we have to go back to that automation ladder. At level 2, the driver is always responsible. It's just a fundamentally different business and a different legal world from the level 4 robotaxis we've been talking about. Now, you might have seen headlines about Tesla getting a permit in Texas to run a ride-hailing service. And that's true, but we need to be really specific about what that permit means. It's a license to operate a ride-hail network, like Uber or Lyft. It is not a driverless permit. It doesn't allow them to run cars with no safety driver in the front seat. At least, not yet. All right, let's wrap this up and put it all together. We've looked at the tech, we've looked at the regulations, we've looked at who's on the road. So, who's actually leading the pack right now? Okay, here's the current leaderboard broken down. If we're talking about paid, truly driverless rides, level 4, your leader in the US is Waymo, and in China, it's Baidu. They're the champs there. Now, for the most advanced permits, in the US, it's still Waymo, pushing into new cities. But in China, you've got to give it to Pony.ai for that incredible citywide permit in Shenzhen. And finally, if we're just talking about the sheer number of cars on the road with advanced supervised driving, well, that's Tesla. Hands down, no contest. So, what should you keep an eye on going forward? Here are the big things. For Waymo and Baidu, the question is, can they keep up that insane pace of 250,000 rides a week while expanding their maps? For Pony AI, it's all about execution. They've got the permit for all of Shenzhen. Now, can they actually do it? For WeRide, can they take that 24/7 service and scale it across the whole city? And for Tesla, it all comes down to one thing. Can they get that golden ticket, a permit for truly monitor-free, driverless operation? And so it all comes down to this one huge question. You've got one car that's learning to drive like a human, and another that was born with superhuman senses. You've got two completely different technology bets, backed by two global superpowers, all sprinting towards the exact same finish line. The question is, which bet is going to win the race to drive us all?